Go ahead and get started here. We're close enough. Do the start with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. On the second day of May, look for a motion to accept our minutes. I move. Second. Any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, HS1 is a touring professional services contract for Camp Hollis winterization.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Brian, you said it was a little higher than you had hoped for, and there was only one.
It was happy with the agency who applied. I mean, I think they're very well qualified. They've done a lot of work here in the county. They definitely met. They scored well. They met all the credentials. They came in a little bit higher, but I'm thinking we can make up for it within the budget. You know, as we go through it.
Right, because otherwise you would have had a budget mod, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But will you still probably have to do a budget mod?
I'm hoping not, because this is a grant that allows us to use, besides in-kind services, we can also use our own county labor if necessary.
Okay, good.
So once they establish the work plan, then I'll get together with the highways and B&Gs to find out what parts of it they can do. And obviously that will eliminate us, correct me if I'm wrong, having to put that out for it. So I'm hopeful that we can make up for that. It's not a great deal of money.
Yeah, we already know B&G is going to do the deck.
Right. So
they're going to draw the plans up, and B&G will build the deck.
Right, so we're going to save all the labor there. So,
Right. Okay, good. Any other questions? Tim?
Was there a reason why, I know we solicited these others, did any of them respond and say why they weren't interested? Was it just such a small project, or?
I think it was a small project because we're shocked that they were the only ones.
yeah. It wasn't even bad weather day.
No, but it was really cool.
It was cold.
Any other questions? Whoops.
Yeah.
Train's coming in. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, HS2 is resolution awarding professional services. Well, you gotta be here. Only got more.
Anyway, you know, we belong to a group of, you know, statewide, or actually U.S.-wide group of purchasers. And one of the questions some of the people have been asking is they're not getting a big response on their bids right now. And it's everybody.
Yeah, there's so much work.
So much work, and people don't have people.
Yeah.
Everybody's shorthanded, so there's only so much they can bid on.
That's wild.
Okay, so everybody should have an additional informational memo for that. And I'll look for a motion.
I'll make it.
Second. Okay. After checking out the informational memo, do you want to, Sarah, do you want to add a little bit more? Or?
Sure. We've been working with Response for Help for now. They're one of the 4 respondents. They didn't come in as the lowest costing one, but it's not much more than the lowest costing respondent. And what these are the units for our elderly if they fall or if they need assistance, they push the button. Some of them have motion detectors, so if they fall and can't push the button, then the emergency responder notifies them. If they can't get a hold of them, then they notify the emergency contact or dispatch emergency personnel to their home. So for the little bit amount of money more that we're anticipating them to cost for a different provider to come into their home and switch out their units, I don't think I think it's very minimal. Now that we budgeted $10,000 on that line item, but in that expense line also has our some senior home care cost, and we have not been able to get the aides in the home as quickly as we want because there's a lack of aides or a shortage of aides. So we do have money within our expense line to cover any additional costs that might be incurred.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
This, that's the one that we needed to amend the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's withdraw that vote for a second. We have to amend that. So you have an additional resolution there that shows the amount is slightly different than what's in the packet.
There wasn't an amount on the first one.
Oh, no amount at all. Okay.
Yes, the amount needs to be added into the volume.
So can one of you amend to add that
I'll
language
make
that's
an
item?
amendment to resolution is to include the cost of the contract $10,839.
Second.
Paragraph 3.
Okay, so vote on the amendment.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, vote on the amended resolution.
Can I state something before you vote? I'm sorry.
Sure.
These numbers are the $10,839. That's based upon what the current usage is. So we might get additional people coming into the program, senior home care, that are eligible for those units, so that number might go higher. I just want to make you aware of that this is based upon what the monthly fee for the units that are currently in the homes.
Okay. But you can cover it. I mean,
Yes,
we're not
yes.
talking thousands more anyway.
No. I just want to make sure you're aware that it could be a higher amount when we come to the end of the year.
Okay.
It could be a lower amount as well if somebody no longer needs it, but.
All right. So Chanel, thank you for reminding me, and that will be in the next packet as well, too, with the change in the final packet.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's complete the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay. Here's our big deal of the day. A resolution authorizing the creation of 2 positions and deletion of 1 position in the Department of Social Services and Legal Team. I'll look for a motion.
I'll make it.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, this looked like a really good plan to me. Thank you. You want to speak to it? I don't know. Go ahead, or?
Well, it was pushed by, we've been trying to recruit 2 attorneys for 6 months and received no applicants, 1 applicant that wasn't viable. And in exploring our network, we recognized that we weren't attracting attorneys because of the pay. So we were hopeful that if we increased the pay, we could get experienced attorney, 1 more attorney, delete that 5th attorney position, and have 2 more paralegal positions, a senior and then a paralegal that would be able to each be assigned, so each attorney would be assigned a paralegal, which would be more efficient with the senior supervising and backfilling. We have 3 positions right now, 2 of them vacant in paralegal. So it's been difficult even to attract them.
Questions?
So we're going to do, we get enough money in the budgetary category to do this? Or we have to do it regular? Okay.
Now, deleting that 1 position for
The attorney?
the attorney.
It covered the differences in the salaries
Yeah.
for the attorneys, and then our vacancies on the services side covered the changes in paralegal.
Okay.
So it's budget neutral for this year. And although I know it's finance and personnel that would set a salary I did want to just point out with attorney salaries, we did do a comparison in the region. Julie Bell in HR did, and we did also compare to what's being offered right now in the other two departments in the county that have attorneys working there. We do get 75% reimbursement on attorney salaries, so the difference in boosting those salaries up would come to $8,043 in local share. So just, you know, they look like big numbers until you look at the federal and state reimbursements there. And we're really only looking at an additional $8,000 in local share for those attorney position upgrades.
Go ahead.
So when you're talking about being budget neutral this year, is that because of offsetting, or I assume maybe because of reduction in the position because it hasn't been filled for the majority of the year? So it would be out of that line, would be offsetting that.
Right.
Okay. Are we using money from that line that's been saved for other things as well? Is there other budget moves coming up anytime soon for that? Okay.
No.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. HF4 is a resolution authorizing the budget modification, Department of Social Services to transfer funds into services, additional hours, and overtime. Look for a motion.
I'll make it.
Second.
So this one is not funded, but there's a need. Not funded in its entirety. Yeah, and I was hoping that Phil would be here because I had some questions for him, but I mean, I think we're just going to fly with it today. And if there's a potential to take some of that, I mean, I think he said it had something to do with taking the money out of unappropriated fund balance made it easier to get reimbursement, but Tim is not so sure about that.
I just wanted to discuss the process a little bit, if it was possible. We have motion right on the table. We're good to talk.
Mm-hmm.
So, Stacey, you want to kick it off, and then I'll ask a question if it doesn't, if you don't address it.
You know, we will certainly have more local share savings over the course of this year because of vacancies. And I don't see that by the end of the year, if there's local share we haven't spent, it goes back into the fund balance.
Right, so it's a wash.
So it's a wash. When we did this, we were really just looking at January, February, March. So, and I'm feeling very dizzy, so not seeming to be myself. Because I don't feel quite myself.
Well, we're almost done. Any other
Yeah.
questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. If you,
I need to lay down, just do so.
if you can leave, you can. Okay. So we have the additional informational memo to replace the appointments to the Long-Term Care Council.
Yes. You want me to speak to the changes that are in there?
Is this a resolution or just a?
It's a memo.
Okay.
It doesn't, yeah, our long-term care council does not need resolution, doesn't need to go before the board, just approved via this page.
So, I mean, you had to change a couple people because they either didn't want to do it or?
Well, the last, yes, not that they didn't want to do it, but Leanne Gerlach is retiring. So she brought forth Lorraine Murray's name as a replacement. So Leanne was in the original memorandum, and now Lorraine is. And then at our long-term care council meeting on Thursday, we realized that one of the names was missing. Lenore Sullivan, who's the new Director of Services for Oswego Industries and the ARC. We have added her on as well. And she's Lorraine Murray and Lenore Sullivan, they're both at the end. On the last page, the last two names on there.
Okay, well, we may as well move it, so does someone want to make a motion to
I'll
move
make
that
a
list?
motion to move the long-term.
Second, any, all right, Herb, second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty.
Thank you.
I think we'll have the rest of your report. But like I said, I think we'll just, in the future, we may forego some of the reporting. I'm going to talk to Phil about that. But if you want to go through your highlights.
Sure, I certainly do. Keep ended on Friday, regular keep ended this past Friday, so we're just finishing processing the applications that we have in the office. We did get some last week, a flurry of them last week because our staff were out and about around the county meeting with people in Parrish, Phoenix, Sandy Creek, Central Square. They're around the county to meet with people so they didn't have to come into the office or go into social services. So we did get another handful of applications that we are processing to send through. Any applications that come in postmarked April 29th also we will process and forward on to social services. As of the time when I wrote the memo, 465 applications had been fully processed. So. Our weekend home delivered meals is going very well. We have 25 participants. They received the 4 additional meals on the weekends, 2 a day, 2 for Saturday, 2 for Sunday. And to date, or through March, 896 meals have been delivered to 2 participants who need them, who have been identified as needing a weekend meal in addition to the weekday meals.
Is that since the first of the year?
As of January the middle of January, because we didn't get it started right at the beginning. So not at the first of the year, but
In January.
Yep, the middle of January we started it. We are taking a look right now because I mentioned earlier that we had some money that's not being utilized right now for senior home care, and we're looking to see if maybe we can repurpose some of that money to get additional people who are in need of that weekend meal so that it's going to an unmet need. So we did get, last September, we were awarded an additional $140,000 in unmet needs. That's what allowed us to start this program. When I got my tentative allocations from the state, they did put that $140,000 in again, so it wasn't a one-time allotment. So we're looking to see how many additional people we can bring on to continue that program. We don't have we've started a wait list, or we have a wait list available. There's no one on it right now, but we have it there, so when they are identified, and then we can get them on as quickly as possible. They have to be a current home delivered meals recipient though, because there's quite a process that they have to go through to get started on the meals, an assessment that needs to be made. Any other questions on that? No. We do have our Caregiver Disability Awareness Resource Fair on Friday, May 13th. It's going to be at the Elam Grace Church from 11 to 2. It's just a resource fair so people will walk through and get resources to see what services are available. We see there's more and more people who have a developmental disability or an intellectual disability that have stayed home, and now they're aging and now they're eligible for services. So it's to get them services for the aging side, as well as maybe they didn't get all the services when they were, that they don't know about all the services that they might be eligible for, as well as intellectual or disability, with a disability. So that's to bring them together, to get those that information together for them. We're also participating again in the Longest Day event. The Longest Day is the summer solstice, which is June 21st, but we're celebrating on June 16th in conjunction with the Oswego Farmers Market. Starting at 4:30 at the Farmers Market, we'll do a walk around the bridges. We'll have Alzheimer's Association personnel there to provide information as well as a short presentation, and then we'll do the walk around the bridges. All the shopkeepers along that, we get them involved and put some purple chain links in their windows so they can show their support for it as well. And the mayor will be lighting up the city hall as well as the waterfall on purple for that. We're just waiting on information on the farmer market coupons. We have received notification on training for the program for 2022, but we have not received any information on how many booklets that we will be receiving, when we'll be receiving them. So we don't have any information to get out to the public just yet. When we do get them, they have to be all counted in because they are treated as cash because they have a $20 for each ticket. Their coupon is worth $4, so they get a $20 value of the coupons. We will do it similar to the way we did it the last couple of years. We'll have a couple of big drive-through events, and then we'll be outside around the county. Whether we've done it outside at the congregate meal sites, the dining centers, at the senior buildings. We've also gone to Sandy Creek at the town hall. So we will be all around the county, so people don't have to come in. They are first come, first served. So when they're gone, they're gone. We can't hold coupon booklets. If no one can get to us, we can make deliveries of them as well. As part of that, with our Senior Health Improvement and Nutrition Education Grant, we're going to have container gardens. So the first 250 participants will be able to get them a container garden to bring home of herbs. And along with that will be recipes on how to replace maybe salt with the herbs, so to spice your food or season your food with the herbs as opposed to more harmful salt. And then we continue to work on the age-friendly Health Across All Policies grant. We have had a first meeting with community participants to get some information on where we want to focus. We have working on developing the survey. I did do the AARP survey that they have available. We did get that out with the Fulton Block Builder kickoff grant with their replication event that they had earlier. And we will continue to hone that survey, get it out to everyone in the community to see what they feel is needed and necessary to age in their communities, not just in the cities, but in the smaller towns and villages as well. What do you feel is needed so you remain? Do you want to remain in your home? Do you want to remain in your community? What do you think is important and that's needed to remain in your community or in your home? After that information is all gathered, then even though I'm not a planning writer, I'll work with some planning people to try to write a 3-year work plan to try to meet some of those goals. How can we meet them? Not just with county funds, but how can we work as a community to meet some of those goals that people are looking and they think are important to remain in the community and age healthfully. And I will get a timeline. I don't have it completely yet, but I'll get a timeline on when we're hoping to meet those goals and have it completed by the end of this year.
Okay.
That is what I have.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Department of Social Services update.
So in our financial assistance division, we have 13.5 vacancies, 7 social welfare examiner vacancies. So our backlog is beginning to show that vacancy rate and opening up our cases. Our support call center and financial assistance division received about 5,600 reports in March, and 23% of those calls were seeking emergency home energy assistance or heat services. So it is important for us to keep that call line open and staffed. We are staffing it with higher level workers right now in order to keep up with the volume. And then a little more than a third are calling about supplemental nutrition assistance program, SNAP. Last week we did receive our child care block grant assistance program allocations, and our allocation for 22-23 as of April 1st is $2.6 million. They rolled over funds unspent from 2021 at $1.9 million. They're giving us $1.8 million in pandemic funding, and so we now have $6.4 million total available funds for child care subsidy program, which really is quite exciting, and we would love to be able to apply that given the very critical child care needs. However, there aren't child care providers for families to use those subsidies with. We are considered a child care subsidy desert, so we really are. There is absolutely not a way for us to be able to spend that. Now the state has changed some policies, so there is an expansion of eligibility up to 85% of the state median income. That'll start August 1st. So in Oswego County, that would be a family of 4 that makes almost $90,000 would be available for a subsidy. And they're going to up the number of absences that can be provided within a year to 24. A lot of that, families have been having to pay for absences mostly due to COVID. Kids who test positive for COVID and can't go. The other real sticking point for even opening up a new center or providing child care is the rates that the state set for how much they can pay a child care provider. You may recall my brief to you when Little Luke's closed down in Glasgow, and it has to do with the number of staff you have to have with infants and toddlers versus the 3- and 4-year-olds. But what's happened with universal pre-K and all of the other options available, daycare centers have been hit because that's where they might have been able to see a little bit of a profit margin because with the infants especially, they lose money. They can't pay enough because of the cap that the state sets on paying rates. In other words, a per hour or a half day or daily fee rate from the child care provider. So the state has certainly been pushing at us to spend down what basically across the state has doubled child care subsidies, but no place to spend that money.
So the state is capping the amount that
we can pay a child care provider under this program, correct?
Sounds like a wacky catch-22, Tim.
So the pool is even larger, but the checks we can write are not large enough to spend it all down? Is that how it works?
The pool of people who could take advantage of it is larger.
If they could find a place.
If they could find a place to put them, and then and it was affordable. It was within the cap.
Right.
And they could pay over the cap. Can they? Well, that sounds like a terrible policy. Catch-22.
We have been very, very vocal across the state with our local districts, and there is not a solution provided to us.
Is there more, I don't know if there's anything on the local level, I mean obviously when the state limits are the state limits, but is there more we can do as far as helping to consolidate the services so that, because one of their my understanding is one of the biggest issues is that you've got smaller groups kind of sprinkled around where really in order to make money you need to have larger groups in order to have kind of this, we start to get the return. Is there something we could do as a county to help incentivize that? I mean, I don't want to get too involved in private, but at some point, if we've got a bunch of places like in Pulaski, they can't make money, they can't serve. You've got all these parochial schools that offer universal PK. We've got, I mean, there's options everywhere for that. And if that was the only place they can make money, and now they can't even do that, how do we hope to have these places open? We saw another one in Oswego. There's got to be something we can do. I know the state isn't going to move, so.
They can't make ends meet.
Right.
That's why they're closing.
Which makes sense. I mean, the state requires that you have so much staff for the number of kids you have, to the point where, and then you raise minimum wage to the point where now they have to pay that staff $20 an hour just to show up. And now you can't.
Utilities and food.
Sure.
And everything is more.
And if you can only get, 12 kids there, you're not going to charge the parents enough to cover the costs. And so you shut down. So now we've got compounding over and over again. There's got to be a way to do this. My understanding is the larger the better for them to be able to make money, because then some of the costs are going to be fixed. You end up, but I don't know what we as a county can do about that. But I mean, it's similar to some of our transportation issues. Is we have to come up with some sort of plan, or they're just going to disappear.
Well, we did put a proposal in for ARPA money, and have not heard back. We were going into Lewis and Jefferson's, they're on cohort 2, in doing family daycare and incentivizing and getting folks who want to step up and run their own family daycare provider. There isn't money for that, though. They don't allow us this child care subsidy money to recruit. And it wasn't a lot of money that we had asked for, but that would be helpful for our employment and training folks to have in order to, there's no federal money and there's no state money when it comes to actually solving this issue. Mm-hmm. And as far as the rate increase, they've waived all kinds of other things. I don't see what the big issue is in trying to get these rates increased so that a provider can actually pay their staff. This is, there's nothing locally that, Marty has done a lot of work on this. I don't know if you want to speak to this issue.
There's a big divide between people who want center care and people who want legally exempt child care, which is your neighbor, your grandma, your whomever that meets certain criteria. It has to be fingerprinted and have to go through the whole thing. The rates to pay those people is even less. In order to have daycare centers be the answer, you got to solve the transportation problem, because people can't get their kids to the daycare and get to work. We looked at trying to incentivize having daycares in employer buildings, but the majority of people who responded to our survey said it's not in the same school district, so they won't bus my kids to school from there, so I can't use it unless they're a toddler under preschool age. So there's just a lot of barriers there. We've tried to fund slots at daycare centers, so if nobody from our referral source is using that, we can still continue to pay for it, so that we have something to get somebody in.
Like almost like a retainer almost?
Right, but the state won't allow us to do that.
Yeah.
Because they pay by parent, they don't pay by provider.
Right. Well, the issue I have with the ARPA money is that that's a one-time. There's no sustained. We've got to fix this thing systematically and systemically, and we're not going to be able to do it ARPA money. I mean, it's just not going to work. I mean, same thing we ran into the AAI. It's got to be something that we can fix long-term. Otherwise, you're just throwing money away for a year. We've got to come up with a better plan. It just thinks when it comes down to the state is in charge of these things, because we can come up with great plans, but in the end, we don't have the authority or the control to get it done. But we've got to come up with something, because I've been hearing, I've had calls on this too. So
plus we can do daycare centers in all 9 school districts.
I know.
So if they have an end of their building or a wing where they can put a daycare center in, all the buses are going there, the parents are going there for older kids. It's usually the hub of the community for smaller communities.
Yeah.
especially like Sandy Creek.
Yeah, and the other thing with that suggestion is this, that the population of the school district has dropped drastically.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, when the last time they had that huge building project, for example, in Hood 6 and 3, it was built to house 1,200 kids.
Yeah.
Let's say, as an example, and actually the school population now is less than 800. So you see there's room spaces available, I think, to conduct something like this. And I don't think the population is going to go up in the near future.
That would be a great public-private partnership
Yeah.
if the school did not, they gotta heat the building anyways,
Yeah.
they gotta heat the rooms anyways.
You got to
So
get
if
the same maintenance and operational cost, and it's utilizing the taxpayers' dollars that are spent on the structure. So, I'm just saying that would be, I think, a great tip, because right now, the state's got a program, but it's basically, we got this money, but you can't use it because you can't qualify to get it. So,
Right.
it's just sitting there, so it makes the state people say, well, we got all this money and all these programs, but the way they don't tell anybody is that, yeah, but you can't use it because you're not paying enough to pay for the staff. So this may be a solution. I think we all look into it.
Have we had any conversations with the school districts? I mean, I know Chris Todd has his superintendent's meeting. Is that a conversation that's been had, do you know?
I don't know that it's been broached with every
Yeah.
school district.
I would think
Curious.
that would be something they'd be interested in. Utilizing that facility. Right?
Maybe. The problem too is, we talked about this. We had trouble just getting a social worker in each of the school
Yeah.
districts. So,
Right.
I mean, to put this would be a big lift, and they would need to all be on board. I mean, this would be a united attack on this thing. And
Well,
Or should we
there's
try
like
one
a-
school district first as a pilot program?
Right.
we tried with the social worker thing. I mean,
Especially if it was a smaller.
A smaller school to see if it works, and then
Mm.
iron out your kinks and then go, because I like that idea.
If the people will,
I'd certainly be willing to go.
most will trust.
I'd be willing to go to Sandy Creek with you and talk to those people.
You know, it's a lot of school districts, it's a lot of buildings in all those school districts.
Oh, yeah.
And really, this is not the work of the Department of Social Services. We run the child care subsidy program. This would be the work of the integrated community plan,
Yeah.
ICP.
anti-poverty initiative too would make a lot of sense for something like this.
Yes.
It sounds like it almost needs to be its own entity that would be
Agreed.
renting space, yeah, so.
I agree.
I wonder if a not-for-profit could do it.
But I mean, if it's done the right way, it would at least be sustaining, I would hope, and you could potentially make enough to cover its expenses and maybe make a private entity interested in taking it on. It's worth a conversation, I think. That's why I was just curious, how much have you had? If it's failed already, then maybe we have to come up with another tack. But if it just hasn't been broached, maybe that's a conversation we can start to look into a little bit.
You could use the money that went to the different municipalities to build community centers, you know, in smaller areas
Mhm.
that could be rented out by daycare providers or by other families to use for other things, group meetings, whatever, youth activity programs. It might be something to think about.
There's no easy answers,
No.
that's for sure.
No.
It's going to take many different public and private partners to come together. But it is a lot of work when you get into community planning, as Roy well knows. It really is about having someone in a leadership role that can really spearhead this.
But if they don't know about it, I mean, I've sat in so many of these meetings now with the anti-poverty collaborative and some of the other ones, and this is kind of the first time I've heard of this idea of having these in the school districts. So I don't know if other people are talking about it, but at least it's the first time I've heard it. So maybe it's something we can at least, Roy, I don't know, maybe you and I can reach out to Chris or some other people just to see if there's, I love the idea of trying up your way too.
Yeah.
Your school district, a couple of the school districts definitely, not to say one over another, but there are some that are more interested in trying out newer things versus just kind of keeping their head above water. So,
Well, I mean, just like Stacy says, though, this is not DSS's to run. The schools are going to say this is not ours to run
Sure.
either.
no, I agree.
So it's going to have to have.
But a 501c3 and
Yeah, it's gonna have
the
to-
right leadership team
It's going to have to be an entity, and it sounds like there's money there to start it. So.
and schools, I think it would benefit their kids that go to the school. I'm not saying it would be a heavy lift, I know that.
Okay,
Well, right now, we have
I-
166 open child care cases. 166 is not a lot, folks.
Not for our population.
What would be the capacity if it was completely maxed out? Do we know?
Oh,
If you had to guess, I mean,
can I guess?
Guess.
It'd be over 1,000.
okay.
Well over.
Does that money roll over if we don't use it, or does it get sent back?
It rolled over this year. It doesn't always roll over. They are really pushing us hard on spending it. You know, lots of things got waived because of the pandemic. So.
One of the bigger issues for people using our subsidy is getting through the eligibility piece.
Yep.
And having that case open while they're still using the daycare. The provider's not getting paid until a month to 6 weeks out before it becomes
Sure.
regular. So a lot of providers can't afford to do that.
So
Is that
there's that timing of
Yeah.
opening a case and actually paying the provider that also is another barrier.
That makes sense. There's really no way we could front it or anything like that, right? Is there any sort of a fund we
pushed
could?
for that with the state, and the state said no.
I tried to figure out how to get them a grant,
Sure.
know, through ICP,
That would
but you have to earmark it for something other than paying for the care of a child, because if I say, this is a grant because you're taking Johnny,
You're
then they assume that Johnny's needs are
Yeah.
covered
Right.
for that first month.
and then you can't backfill.
No, it makes sense. I've also heard that there's some, sorry if I could, last thing, I've also heard that the paperwork side of it can be a bit arduous. Is that true? And if so, how much is that handled by our staff? And if so, how much staff do we have to handle it? That was the other question. I mean, is that,
We have 2 staff that do it at our building,
Mhm.
but
Halfway of hope.
Pathway of Hope at Salvation Army also does it. ICP can help do it.
okay.
I've talked to our staff about putting together a voiceover video to walk them through the paperwork,
That's a good idea.
be able to post that so that people can just kind of go through it.
And the paperwork's the paperwork, right? This is it state application? It's not like we've made it more difficult or anything.
There's a separate packet for providers,
It's
a
state.
packet for the person.
So I figured.
It's a lot of paperwork.
That's what I heard. Thank you.
So, also with the inaction of the state budget, there were some changes made in cash assistance, temporary assistance for needy families, TANF and safety net assistance. So, when COVID first started and there was a declaration of a state disaster emergency back in March of 2020, we were no longer authorized to take any negative action on clients who were receiving financial assistance. So they're doing work readiness activities and things like that were all waived. But effective immediately, that was last week, we can resume taking negative action for noncompliance with clients accepting TANF and safety net. So they still have really become much more vigilant to good cause provisions, they call it. So if there's good cause for someone not being able to follow through with the many kinds of obligations in accepting a safety net or TANF, we have to document that, and then we cannot take negative action. So that could be a transportation barrier, that could be issues arising out of COVID, those kinds of things. So there is more diligence by our workforce in order to take any negative action. Also, with the enacted New York State budget, there were some changes made. One was, in the past, there's been a 45-day wait before a case could be opened up for safety net, which is childless couples and individuals without children. That now will no longer be the policy in New York State, and so the case initiation date will be like TANF, the date the application is made. That means they'll go on to safety net quicker. And keep in mind that's 71% of that cost is local share cost. Counties are also no longer authorized to place a lien on property when you accept emergency aid or financial assistance. So effective immediately, we are no longer putting liens on property for people who receive TANF or safety net, no matter what their home is worth or their property is worth. We currently have about 300 liens on property, and so we're working with the clerk's office to come up with a new process in order to discharge those liens from all those properties. I am having our fiscal folks put together the cost projections on that, what it will be costing the county. We do actually collect on those liens when the house is sold, or people pay them off before the house is sold. But that's another unit that we're really short on staff right now. It was our first one where we've hired provisionally, and because of the civil service test not being passed, that plan's not going to work out so well. So we're starting to see that more and more as well, now that civil service tests are starting to be given. I think we're going to see some of these provisional hires we did, we'll have to start over again with hiring and training. Some people have been sitting in those seats for 2 years, keep in mind. I have a director of services right now. Imagine if I lose my director of services. She's been with us 2 years as the director, and she just took a civil service test Saturday. So we're starting to see that impact as well. Next month, give you a little preview, kind of a commercial for next month. If you haven't heard, SUNY Oswego has terminated their contract to host the Workforce Development Board and administer all of those federal regulations that we need to make sure we're doing just the way they want, or we will lose our $1.2 million of federal WIOA money. So we will be bringing to you a new proposal for DSS to host. That'll be presented. Our Director of Employment and Training, Rachel Pierce, has been very busy. She's right now in the process of consulting with the county attorney. There has to be firewalls between what's authorized, which is Workforce Development Director, and then what's signed off on, which is Employment and Training Director. So Rachel can't wear both hats. So it will mean some higher level of positions, some upgrades of what we've got as seniors right now. So we are being diligent about costs and trying to keep within the costs of what WIOA provides us for administration. And, you know, just to reassure you, because this goes into effect July 1st, so we've got to act pretty swiftly with this. It won't be too late once we take over those operations to put an RFP out if you prefer, if you want to look at other options for contracting it out. But it's not a lot of money, so I'm not quite sure you know, what we would get as far as a cost fix comes to that.
Legislative stuff.
So, are there any other local counties that contracted out? I mean, obviously we've contracted out now for, I don't know, how long did they do it? Do we know, the SUNY?
A number of years.
Did we ever have it before them, or has it always been them as long as it's existed? They might know.
I've always known it being SUNY, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Just curious if any other counties are doing it another way, and if there's some vendor who's willing to come in and do it.
Yeah, I mean, just about every other way you can think of, different counties do it.
Sure.
Some counties host both. Some counties host the Workforce Investment Board stuff, but contract out the WIOA stuff. But again, it sounds like a lot of money because we can put most of that money right into the training, on the job training and the training of our workforce. So for the amount of money we get, I'm not sure we'd find a vendor that could actually run it unless they're willing, like SUNY Oswego has done, to complement that with their own funding.
Okay.
So when will you be ready to present?
We'll have to do it next month because we need a resolution to bring that under our umbrella. And
So as soon as you're ready to kind of present that to, at least to Phil and myself and
okay.
some smaller group, let's try to do that.
Could we get a couple of other counties how they do it, just so we can have that as another option? I think that's be helpful at least.
Sure. Rachel's actually, we could even have, there's a state entity that is an association that we could do a virtual connection to.
My biggest worry is that we're having trouble filling positions in every single department from the bottom up, and to take on a whole new department that we'd have to staff pretty much from the ground up, it sounds overwhelming.
Well, how many staff do they have for SUNY that works on this? Will they have like 3 or 4?
Yeah, but
At
they're
least-
not all dedicated to this, although they say they put more time into it than what it shows as their percentage. We're not looking,
Funding a whole different team,
no,
but we're upgrading a couple of positions
right,
under Rachel, so that they can take on some of the duties that need to be firewalled from each other.
So if I could, how can we, this was a separate organization with separate staff. We're going to hopefully do everything that they were doing with our current staff just by giving them upgrades? Like,
no.
I feel like that could be...
2 new positions.
Okay, so we would still have 2 new positions.
Yeah.
The leadership piece would stay the leadership. Maybe they would be promoted to deal with... Okay. Okay, makes sense.
Right. Because it's 2 different entities right now, there's been a lot of redundancy.
Sure.
And so that would be, we've gone through a task analysis. I think there were at least 50 tasks through SUNY Oswego, and looked at each one of those and where there's redundancy. We fed a lot of the information to SUNY Oswego.
So this could potentially be a gain for us. It's possible, right? I mean,
It's possible that we can do this more efficiently.
Okay, makes sense.
As long as, this firewall piece can be rectified. Sure. That's what we're working on right now. And if anybody can figure it out, I'm convinced our county attorney will.
And then they have to hire someone to explain it to the rest of us.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not feeling well, feel free to leave.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of came over me.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I will. I just...
Brian, you're up.
All right, I'll go as quick as I can. First one is going to be reading off my phone because I left the page in the printer. So for Camp House right now, we have 400 people as of today, 400 kids signed up for camp. Our day camp is completely sold out with a waiting list. On Saturday, May 7th, we have from 11 to 3 volunteers are coming to assist with getting our gardens and grounds ready and spreading wood chips on the new playground. The new playground is 98% complete. It would have been completed by now, but apparently 4 pretty good-sized vaults were not included in the package, so the roofs are not on the tops, but they will be done hopefully this week. Constellation is put a proposal together. They have a volunteer group that I'm going to pass around to you for a minute to do some updates at Hollis. I'll cover that right here in a second. Let's see. What else you guys need to know? The kitchen at Camp House, so you guys know because you approved it. Rambo Electric has completed all the work for the new kitchen equipment. That's all been taken care of, so that'll be ready for day one. We are still looking for a few counselors, lifeguards, but we are providing a free training for lifeguards if anybody knows anybody interested in doing so. If we talk about staffing needed. We also need an evening security guard. Those are the positions that are needed. At Camp Zerby, and again I'll give you this in a minute, on April 2nd they hosted their Family Fun Day. 50 people came out to learn all about Oreo Cookies' 110th anniversary. I believe both of the legislative Yerdans ate a box of Oreos each. Oh wait, you wrote that, sorry. Let me see here. The next event they'll be having is called Night Eyes, and I have a flyer for you guys for that. It'll be on May 13th from 8 to 9:30. And with that, there'll be, different things. There's going to be, let's see, it's going to be a fun night learning about nature, animals. There's going to be a campfire with s'mores, so that's going to be coming up. Importantly for Camp Zerby, for our summer camp, which is also sold out, of course, we're looking for 3 staff members in the area. So that's one of the things we're looking for. We're working to do that.
Brad, what's the age limit on that?
Well, really, you could be, depending, it's an AmeriCorps member, so 17 for that. Camp Zerby, I've been saying this forever, but, V&G is supposed to get the Pack Malone building completed this spring. They're supposed to be working on it. They've been busy, so they haven't been able to get to it, but that needs to be done before our summer camp opens because we need it available for that. So that'll be done, as well as the well and septic that we've done. They're going to be flipping over to the new well now, so that will be something that we completed. But flipping back to what I talked about before, I'm going to pass this around for you. It's a proposal from Constellation. Constellation is proposing, I have one more back to you. Thank you. Constellation is proposing to do some volunteer work out to Camp Hollis, and I figured I would bring it here first just to see if you guys had a problem with it, obviously to approve. With that being said, they proposed a few different days to do some work out there. First being a garden cleanup, where they want to work within the gardens, which I don't see as a big deal. But then they have cabin renovations, where they want to do some painting and some interior updates that you'll see they detailed pretty. Right here we've got some details of what they want to do. Looks like they want to do some window replacements, and they want to paint a mural, which you'll see some artwork on there that they'd like to do. They have their proposed dates on there. They have 50 volunteers that want to help with this from Constellation. But before they go doing any painting or changing any of the hardware on the walls or anything to that matter, I'm building shelving, which is, I think, important for campers because there's, in this day and age, kids want to have their own places to put their things and such, and they want to, as you can see, build shelving units for each of the campers in each cabin. So these are, and putting some new hooks up for within the cabins as well. So this is what Constellation is proposing they'd like to do at Camp House. I don't know if we need you guys to approve that to happen since it's county property, or if you want to talk about it, or
money.
Constellation paying. Constellation we pay for all of it.
I definitely think we need a resolution approving to do work on the county property.
Okay, I can do that. I can just tell them to hold off.
Well, we'll cover ourselves just by doing it, so if you want to make a motion, go ahead.
I make a motion that we get with the Constellation to approve them to do work on the Camp House.
That's proposed, yeah.
Proposed. Second.
Herbie, second. Okay. Tim, are you on board?
100%.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So we don't need resolution?
We just did a resolution.
All right, nothing going to the floor though? Nothing going.
I don't believe it's going to need to go to the floor, but we'll maybe, just clear it with...
It may.
It may.
I'll double check.
We had to vote to receive other free gifts, so it may or we may need to.
Check with
I'll check
Check with
And
Phil
make
on
sure
that.
if it's just a motion that needs to be made, which was
Yeah.
made.
You may very well
But
need
if
some,
we
you
need-
might need some legal documentation for that.
Sure, there's a way for us to government this up a little bit,
Liability,
make it take
insurance,
twice
all
as
that
long.
So we can make it harder to get stuff for free.
Yeah, exactly, you're right.
I apologize, it literally came to me this morning that.
That's a good idea.
That's okay, it sounds great.
I'm curious.
All right, so this is the flyer for the Camp Serby event coming up right there, and if anybody goes along, you guys can take those if you want to go along with
Tim is
that.
behind you.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting you. I don't know how I forget you.
No, I see.
It's easy, you're not looking at it.
He's right next to the door.
Hide back
Sneak
here.
out on us.
It's like a ghost back there.
All right, so with that being said, like I mentioned, the playground is about 98% done. The climbing tower is done. Going forward, for AmeriCorps, we have a whole list of sites that are looking for staffing this summer. Again, as we look at it, so this is the FYI, we're in here. I mentioned how Camp Serby was looking for staffing. Update for you, Roy, that Constantia has 2 members approved, but they are looking for 2. So if anybody knows anybody that is looking for a summer job, we do have plenty of AmeriCorps sites that are looking for people to go through.
That's for camp counselors?
Yep, it for there. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen anything in the news lately. Going forward, that our Prose Program, which is new in the middle school, it's a social emotional learning program focusing on individualized behavior and conflict management strategies. I have 2 staff in the middle school here in Oswego that have been working with the students moving forward. As you can see, you can read this on your own. The Oswego City School District is thrilled with how it's going. So thrilled, they've asked them to stay for the summer for summer school. But what we're doing is we're going to work on a reduced schedule for them to do that. We're going to continue to work as it gains momentum. But they are seeing a lot of success with the new program. So they are looking to promote and move on with that. So that's one of the other things we've been working with. Our Leadership of Oswego County Youth class is graduating on Wednesday night. They'll have the ceremony at the middle school. They were able to get in a full year, knock on wood. Everything was face-to-face, and they will have their graduation, which is important because they haven't been able to do all this in 2 years where everything has been in person and together. I'm not going to give you guys really the update because we already talked about it. If you wanted, I'll tell you, but Joe has nothing new on the bug. He will be looking to come back next month because he has not been able to get any answers from New York State to answer your questions from last time moving forward. So he's looking to basically get an update. Definitely has nothing new to report at this time. You guys also asked me last month for a detailed explanation of that additional money, how it would be spent by OCO for the RHY funding. You want me to explain that to you right now? Or basically, it's going for salaries, rents, and materials that they have to cover from 2021. Moving forward on that. Lastly, and we'll look at you strongly, Roy, but you may be busy. On May 18th is our Youth Career Summit at the Fairgrounds. I had a legislator all lined up to be our guest announcing speaker, but I found out he will be out of the country that day.
Vacation.
And I believe his brother will also be missing. So I don't know if Roy or if you, anybody.
What day of the week is it?
It's a Wednesday. Just to give you FYI, all 9 school districts are committed. We have 640 student 8th graders signed up. It is most schools' first field trip since COVID started in 2 years. We have over 35 vendors coming. New Visions, Public Safety from City BOCES are both also going to be on board. So all together we'll have about 800 people there that day. So it'll be a good day at the fairgrounds, at Oswego County Fairgrounds. You don't have to give me an answer, but down the road if somebody...
Send me an email because
Okay.
I'm after I come back from the Adirondacks, I'm going to Pennsylvania to help my son move back to Pennsylvania.
I can send you an email. It would just be a quick welcome to all the schools or anything you want to add to it, and then you'd be free to go or free to stay, whatever you'd like to do on that.
The 18th isn't a Thursday?
No.
Oh, it's a Wednesday. Right. Okay.
And lastly, with the New York State budget, we were informed that the New York State gambling money, your DraftKings money where everybody's placing their bets, Tim. That money is being allocated to youth bureaus now. So basically we know that it's going to go from $1 million to $5 million added to all the youth bureaus budgets, and no details beyond how we need to work with that have been passed out yet. All we've been told by OCFS is that we'll be loaded into our system with all the details. So we'll be RFPing that money out. It's gambling money, so that will be money that will go towards youth in Oswego County. I think the focus will be on, obviously, recreation and sports to work with different programming, so that will be something I'll be coming forward to. The state budget did restore our money to 2021 level. Every year they always take the add-on out. Ever since I've been youth fair director, we've gotten an add-on, so I never put it in my budget, so I'll be coming back next month to ask for you guys to accept the additional funding. I didn't do it this month because there'll be runaway homeless youth money coming right behind it. They haven't got that paperwork out yet, and I'm hoping the gambling money is there, so I'm hoping we can get all three done next month and then get that in. So all additional money coming from the state to be able to provide more programming, yet we're waiting for them to get all the details to us as to being able to move forward. So really things are looking positive with summer. Again, with my staff, Harbor Fest is returning, so my staff will be running the children's park again down for Harbor Fest. So we have busy plans with, like I said, both of our day camp programs are sold out. Our overnight camp program is picking up a lot of speed. AmeriCorps has a lot of job openings for anybody looking for a summer job. And as I mentioned, our Prose program will be going into summer school, and we're now working with the city of Fulton to help them with more summer recreation as well, that they don't have a actual department that's able to do that. They have a rec department, but they're looking for us to assist them with doing some of the things that Oswego is already doing. So we're going to work with them to advance forward. So all good, all busy.
Great. Any questions for Brian?
So.
Sarah?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had some things written on the back I didn't have in my initial update. I just wanted to make sure you all knew that we just had a press release go out on Friday. Both of my insurance counselors that are in the office, I have one that retired on Friday, going through vacancy review, and hopefully we'll be able to fill that position. And the other one is out on family medical leave, so I have no insurance counselors in the office right now. So a press release went out stating that we're temporarily suspending insurance counseling services. Many people, we get calls all the time for people requesting appointments to discuss the insurance that they have, changes they need to make. They're just becoming Medicare eligible. So we do have staff on site to help them complete applications, provide generic information on plans that are available, but it's quite a learning process to be able to actually counsel someone adequately on the options that are available. So we're in that process. We are training, but we did send a press release out and we have suspended that. Also, May is Older Americans Month, so I just wanted to put that out there. It is Older Americans Month. The theme is Age Your Way, and we will have a proclamation at the legislature meeting.
Tim?
Yeah, I actually had a question about that. I was going to ask afterwards, but so I understand that we have staffing shortages. Is there any way that we can cover that with some sort of planned? Is there an alternative? I'm sure you would have thought of it, but I did have someone call and reach out about that. How many people? I guess the real question is how many of those calls do you get, say, a week? And then is there another way to offer some sort of a service until we get staff in there? I mean, outsource it or rent something.
We probably get at least 25 calls for people looking for appointments, some walk-ins as well. We're getting
per month?
Per week.
Per week?
Yes, for people looking for that. For the actual insurance counseling, to sit down and discuss plans that are available and what their options are. We do have a packet of information we're getting together, so they have that, but they can also call 1-800-MEDICARE. 1-800-MEDICARE has always been an option. It's not as personal as what you get when you come into our office, but certainly it's always an option. They provide the same exact information. Also, the state office for the aging, so we do offer up some options. It's not just, sorry, we can't help you, but we did have a number of people, just to try to curb the frustration when they call up and say, what do you mean you don't have anybody there that can help me? What does your office do? Because we've been getting that.
Yeah.
And it really was unforeseeable. We did not anticipate family medical leave.
Yeah, when it
She's
rains, it
seriously
pours.
ill.
That's
and
the way it goes.
It's been over a month now. We thought that she'd be at way before now. So, but we do have staff in the office that have been training and trying to get up to snuff, but we just don't feel comfortable right now, but then giving that critical information to people when they're making those could be a very costly decision.
I can see how it would be confusing for people because there's so much information in the book that the federal government sends out. It's pretty informative, but you've really got to understand what they're telling you. You know what I'm saying? And there's some insurance companies, some areas that don't cover, some we do. There's a variety of plans.
Right.
There's
I'll
a lot
tell
of
you-
scamming going out there, by the way.
Yes.
Then.
Yes, I'll tell you, when I first started in 2005 in the Office for the Aging, I started when Medicare Part D, the prescription plan, first came. And I started in the summer. Part D became available the following January. And I was like, I can't wait for that book to come out. It's going to tell us everything we need to know. It's like, oh my God. Oh, yeah. No,
Give
it's
the
very,
comparisons and stuff like that, because you really got to know what you're looking at.
yes,
So
exactly.
do you have an idea of how long you expect it to not be available?
I would say probably the next 4 weeks. But we're, slowly we'll get it in, depending on what they're calling and requesting, what type of service.
So there's just nobody in the building who knows how to answer this, or you feel comfortable answering it? I mean, could they do some sort of appointment based? Could they do
just the intricacies of the counseling? Because I have some knowledge of it, I can always fill in if somebody says, I absolutely need it because my insurance is ending and I need to make a decision.
Have we ever thought about contracting it out, since it's just by the...
We get $33,000 a year for that program.
So this is two full-time positions or two part-time?
not with 33,000? We must be offsetting it quite a bit.
We take our New York Connects money that helps supplement that.
So we have two people full-time doing this.
Yes.
Government never makes anything easy.
Well,
some other counties only have one person that does it, and they rely upon
again, I'm
volunteers. So
64 and a half
to
now,
get,
so I know how crazy it is. I'm just looking into it. So
we're trying to get that volunteer base as well.
Yeah.
We're getting a training program together for volunteers so they can take some of those.
And I got to think that the liability that the county would have for giving legal advice with volunteers seems a little scary. That's my concern.
Well,
do we have any liability from that? Do we say, this is just for informational purposes only, or do we?
Yes, because it's the health insurance information and counseling program. So we don't say, this is the plan. We say, these are your options that are available to you. We provide them with the information so they can make an informed decision on what they want to do. In some plans, we can assist them when they're enrolling in. Some of them, we say, no, you have to contact the insurance company to enroll with that plan. So
most of them you do.
So when we hear that the state offers services in this area, it's in the form of $33,000 to the county to be able to offer it. Is that, or you said there's an 800 number we can still send people to.
We can still send them to them. We're also getting, because there are individual insurance plans that are available in the county, we're also getting a list. I tasked my staff to get a list of contact names and phone numbers so we can give them the complete list.
And that was my first thought, but the problem that is now you have, those people are looking to make money off of this, right?
Well, that's why it has to be complete with all the companies, not just saying, no, call Excelis or call United Healthcare. It has to be all the plans.
Then you had advertising saying, well, if you on Social Security, you want to go to Plan B. You may be eligible for dental, but they don't tell you the fine print. You know what I'm saying?
They don't tell you can only go to one dentist, and it probably is downstate.
Yeah, the dental coverage probably is your yearly checkup. Okay. So I mean, it's
so that's the information we do provide. So it does give them that additional information, and really a lot of it is learning curves.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll scoot through vacancy review and at FFP on Thursday pretty easily.
You have someone lined up to start? Okay.
We already have him training.
Oh, okay.
So,
great.
Yeah, it's someone within the staff, but they're at it's at a different level position. So
great.
Can't have him train too hard yet.
Okay.
Any other?
So just for the month of Older Americans Month, we won't have the service.
So sorry.
If I won't include you.
Yeah.
Not yet. Next week.
I know, it's, it's like my heart breaks.
Oh, no,
over,
no.
You could be an honorary old person.
I feel like when I bought a Buick today.
Oh my God, you bought an old person car.
I did. Anyway, sorry.
Sorry, you cut.
But like I said, if anybody has a serious issue and they need something, I can always assist. I can always jump into that role to help them and
Is
help
it a
direct them.
station wagon?
I don't think you can get station wagons anymore.
Okay, I will look for the appropriate
Motion adjourned.
motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of
Aye.
adjourning?